next problem is an order of operations problem. Notice we have a few things to do in here. We start with parentheses first, and we start inside and work our way out. So inside the parentheses, there is no parentheses. So the next level would be exponents. So any exponents inside that parentheses we would do. So we're going to do 2 to the third. We just do it on the side somewhere. 2 times 2 times 2 gives us an 8. We still have the parentheses. Any more exponents inside we could do at the same time. Bring the rest down, and don't forget your 4 out front. Right, now we're still in the parentheses. After exponents, the next level is multiplication or division left to right. We have a division right here in the middle, so we will do that first. We are still going to be in the parentheses. 8 divided by 4 is 2. We'll bring everything else down. Any more multiplications and divisions in there we could do at the same time. And now we're still in the parentheses. We're going to work left to right with the subtraction. So 8 minus 2 is 6, and we can continue because it's the same level. 6 minus 2 is 4. Right, before you take the parentheses off, you always have to look around. Make sure there's no exponent outside. There's not, so that's good. But right here in the front, you have to preserve that multiplication. So you can keep a little parentheses, or you could put the dot, but something to preserve the multiplication. And then last, 4 times 4 is 16. Next, we have an evaluate problem. So we're going to take the x value they give us, x equals 3, and substitute that into the x. We have to keep everything else. Also notice this one has an exponent. You should always use parentheses when you substitute, and there is an exponent. So I'm going to keep my 2 plus 4. Here I'm going to denote multiplication, and I have an exponent, so I'm going to use parentheses. The 3 goes inside the parentheses. The exponent only goes to that x value, which now is 3. Now you're ready to go with order of operations. The parentheses don't really count because they don't have math inside. Level 2 would be exponents. So we're going to work out our 3 squared, means 3 times 3, which is 9. Keep your operation right here, which is multiplication, a number right beside a parentheses. And then multiplication needs to go before addition. So 4 times 9 is 36, plus 2 will give us 38. Next, we'd have a translation. We're going to switch the words over to symbols. So we look for our operation word, which is times. Times means multiplication. And so we have a number times 20. For any time we see the word a number, we're going to put a variable. So you could put any variable you want. I'll just use x. So if I'm going straight in order, I might write x times 20. If you're working this in the book, this is probably not the way they will write it. A more standard way to write the answer is 20x. It's a little more compact. But with multiplication, you're allowed to switch the order. Multiplication or addition, you can have a different order. Another translation, translate the difference of 5 and a number. So difference is our operation word. It means subtract, and normally there's a separator in there. And is your separator. Subtraction has to go in order, and difference translates straight in order. So the 5 must go first, and you could have any variable you want after. So it has to be 5 minus x. Make sure that you have reviewed all of your terms, not just these 2. There are several others, and there are a couple of subtraction ones that are tricky that go backwards. That subtracted from and less than translate backwards. So make sure you look back at the entire list. Next, we're going to insert the correct symbol, less than, greater than, or equal to. We have 2 separate problems. On the first one, you can think of your number line. The -7 is more to the left of 0 than -2, so it is smaller. You've gone more on the negative side. It will get the less than symbol. For the second one, the you need to simplify these first. So first of all, for the absolute, absolute means how far is the negative 3 from 0? It will be 3 spaces. For the other one, this is parentheses. It has no special meaning. The negative outside says take the opposite of whatever's inside. So opposite of a negative 3 actually gives us a positive 3. And now we can choose the correct symbol. So this one is actually equals. This problem has actually 4 problems, and it's addition. So remember, for addition, we have to watch our signs. For like signs, we add. Different signs, we subtract. So for the first one, we have like signs. They're both negative. So we're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. So negative 17. B. We have a positive 4 and a negative 2. Different signs. Different signs you subtract, and you take the sign from the larger number. So the sign is going to come from the 4, which is positive, so we'll stay positive. C. We have different signs, a negative and a positive. Subtract the numbers. Take the sign from the larger absolute value. So the sign is going to come from the 10. That one is farther away from 0, so you will get a negative 5. For our last one, we'll just go across. So do 2 at a time. Don't let this one freak you out because it's a little long. So it says negative 3 plus 2. Different signs. Different signs we should subtract. Sign of the larger, which would come from the 3. Bring down just the next piece. And these are like signs. Like signs add, keep the sign. We'll bring down just the next one. These are like signs, both negative. Add, keep the sign. Bring down the 5. Now we have different signs, a negative and a positive. Different signs subtract. Sign of the larger, so sign from the 12. And we'll bring down our last piece. These are like signs. Like signs add, keep the sign. If you watched my video for subtraction, you will remember that we didn't really think of subtraction, we just thought about signs. So if we take this thing we're used to as subtract and think of it instead as the sign of the one after it, then we can go ahead and just think like signs are different. So if we move it over, just put a little space. So all I put was space, or you could write it with plus a negative if you learned that way. And then think signs. We have like signs. Like signs add, keep the sign. For the next one, this thing you're used to as subtract, take it as the sign of the 8. So your 4 stays the same. That's going to be the sign of our 8. And now we're just thinking signs. These are different signs. Different signs subtract. Sign of the larger. So sign comes from the 8. C, you have to be careful on this one. Anytime you have this minus negative together, that needs to clean up. Opposite of a negative or minus a negative gives you plus. So we will rewrite this problem. The first one's staying the same, but the minus a negative becomes a plus. It uses both. Actually makes like a big plus there. Right, now, just work with what you have and don't look back. They're both positive. Add, keep it positive. Right, and part D. Just going to go across on this one nice and slow. For our first ones, this will be the sign of the 7, so they will be like signs. Like signs add, keep the sign. Bring down our next piece. And this is actually addition mode. These are like signs. Add, keep the sign. Before we bring the next one down, let's clean it up. Minus a negative, remember, gives you a plus. So that's going to be a plus 3. Now you have different signs, so different signs actually subtract sign of the larger. So sign from the 13, we'll bring down the 1. Different signs subtract sign of the larger. So sign from the 10.